everybody, Kimberly here, and I sure have been excited. I've been raring for a nice legacy game, and to have one come in such a tiny box is so exciting. So I played My City, which is the tabletop 2 to 4 player game that has secret envelopes and new rules and new components added for every single round of the game or every single time you play. And it is a legacy game that changes as you play, and yes, your scores are going to accumulate and matter from game to game to game. You get that in My City Roll and Build, but it scales for 1 to 6 players and has a massive, massive sheet stack that you get to play with. These are two-sided, and you have just dozens and dozens of chances to play this game from chapter to chapter and from episode to episode. So let's take a look at what's actually in the box. I actually have it all right here. You get 3 dice, and I will say that the dice feel a little light. They feel a little plasticky, and they don't really have nice appeal, but they're very functional, and I'll show you how to use the dice in a minute. But you've got these 3 dice, 2 of which are blue on the back, and the other one is white on the back with blue as like the house symbol. The next thing, you're not going to get the tray. This is my tray just to make sure my dice don't go everywhere. You're going to get a sheet. Every player is going to start off with Chapter 1, Episode 1. And this is Chapter 1, The New Land, Episode 1. So again, you just get dozens of this sheet, front, back, and it's just Chapter 1 still, Episode 1. So I wanted to show you again, how massive this thing is. So you can keep playing this game, you can play through the whole campaign, and then do it again, starting over with different players, or with the same player, or players. So what you're gonna do first is you're gonna take a pen, and you're gonna write your name at the bottom, and this is going to be your score down here. And you're just going to roll the dice. So I'm going to roll these dice. And I'm going to look at this. I'm going to take these 2 dice, the 2 blue dice, and I'm going to put them where their gray circle, there's like a half circle, matches up with the half circle. So I'm going to place them like this, creating what I call a short L, because there is an opportunity for a long L, but it's simply 2 high and then 3 across, and you can do invert, you can do mirror image, you can do rotating, you can do anything you want with these shapes. And you are going to draw it in this design, and it's going to be the sideline design, and that's a particular type of building, but I don't think it matters. It says in there it's like industrial or commercial, or it doesn't matter. You don't really care about that after you get going. So the rule is you have to play along the river, on either side of the river, never crossing the river, and you want to essentially place it in a spot where after that's placed, everything must be adjacent. So I'm going to play my building down, and I'm going to try to cover up rocks. I'm going to try to avoid the trees, because every tree is plus points, every rock is minus points, and every empty space is minus points. And that's really all you do at the start of the game. So I'm looking at my L again, and I'm trying to figure out where do I want to place this so that I can play better later. And I'm looking and I say, let's go right here. Now please, no judgment. I am really bad at the drawing part. So that is my my short L. I go 2 across and 3 up, and I was able to rotate, mirror, do whatever. So now I'm along the river, but the river rule, see it says start at the river rule's done. Now I have to play adjacent, and corners or diagonals are not adjacent. After everyone at the table has drawn their shape with this design into their own board, someone picks up the dice and you just roll again. And every turn you are simply rolling the dice, matching up those 2 half circles, and then looking at the design. And now you have to go adjacent to that space. And again, I want to cover up rocks, and I want to leave my trees open. Where do I want to go? I can go across the river. So these spaces right here are adjacent to this building, but you're never allowed to make a building go across a building. You're never allowed to build over another building. That's illegal. And you're never allowed to go in this wooded area or this rocky mountain area in this first map. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to draw here. And again, I've got a stripy building. See, it's adjacent on one side. I drew it too. And now I go again. All right, here I go. So this symbol doesn't matter in that very first chapter. I think it's the first chapter. It's at least not, available in the first episode. It's going to come into play later and give you a chance to build churches. But that is for later. When you see it in the early rounds, just forget about it. You're just going to have a 2 and it's going to be an X. So now I'm going to draw a 2 and an X with the X design. And in the very beginning of the game, what those say don't matter, but they do later on. And so they build in these mechanics early on and just start you off easy in those early rounds. So now I'm going to take, let's say I want to branch out here and I want to draw it like this. And I'm going to go X and X. And they suggest that you draw kind of inside the lines so that you can actually see your buildings a little bit better. I roll again, place my circles, and now I've got a 3. It's a little, I call them triangles, but they're just corners. And that one is going to be a fully shaded one. Where am I going to put this guy? Well, you know what? I'm going to come here and I'm going to mark right over that rocks because those are 2 rocks and I don't like those rocks. And then I do something like this to differentiate that from my X's and from my slashes. I'm going to do one more, see if I can get a biggie. It's more common. Down here it says the building shapes triangle and 2s are the most common. Other building types are rare, like the single or the big ones. Hey, oh no, I got the same one. I got a little triangle guy, and he's going to be that symbol. So just to cover up some more rocks, I'm going to go down here. I'm going to cover this up, and I'm going to go like this, and I'm going to do that. Fantastic. Yes, and yes. So players are going to continue playing. You roll the dice, everyone places it in, and there might be a time where you get a shape that you just don't want or you can't place. If you don't construct a building, you simply will mark through this space saying, I'm going to receive a -1 point at the end of the game, but I'm going to pass this round. I'm going to say, I don't want to play this one. And then you get to join the very next turn. The other thing that you're going to do is just drop out of the round entirely. Let's say you filled up all these spaces and you're pretty happy with your choices. The roll happens and you can't play it or you don't want to. You can just simply say, I'm done, I'm out of the round. You don't have to take a negative, you don't have to take a check mark here and you're not constructing a building, but that means you can't come back in and you will simply score up subtraction for not taking the building in a round, which is you are not constructing a building. You'll add 1 for every tree that is still uncovered, -1 for each individual rock that is still showing, and any just empty spaces. Those are going to count as -1. And that's your very first chapter. That is the New Land, Chapter 1. It gets you started in such a quick, straightforward, easy way, and the game will continue to grow as you play from chapter to chapter. I want to show you a couple of the new changes. So the next thing you're going to see, and I promise I won't spoil past chapter 3, not chapter 3, but episode 3, because I want to show you just how this game kind of grows. And it's not ruining anything for you. It just shows you that the game will add new scoring opportunities. Everything's the same. They took away that massive tree line at the top from the very first map, but now they say you're going to count the buildings that are connected of each type. It's your largest group of each building type, solid, stripe, and X. So one of the reasons why I was building my stripes and my solids next to each other instinctively, kind of like just because I played this game before, is because in later games, you want to start strategizing by making the largest grouping of each type, and you get to count those as points. So you're going to put your score down here in the bottom, and then the same thing with your chapter or episode 2. And then when you get to episode 3, you get a new feature called the well. And the well needs to be adjacent to 4 separate buildings. And if you do it, you get an additional 4 points. Then you're going to add up legacy style, campaign style, all of your episodes, and you're going to get a chapter score. And that means, yes, that every single game you have is going to add up, and there's going to be this massive sum at the end of the game to see who was the overall winner of the campaign for My City Roll and Build as the game continues to grow and develop and change and add rules and add components. Particularly with this symbol right here that you're going to see in later games, not in Chapter 1, Episodes 1, 2, and 3. But like I said, I'm not going to show you anything past Episode 3 because I want those games to come to you and I want them to be new and I want you to discover them and really just see what this game is, because you will play 12 episodes. And you can play them in chapters. You can just play them saying, I'll just play the whole chapter and play 3 games back to back to back. And I found that was really fun. I wanted to play again. Each game takes about 20 to 30 minutes to play, and it doesn't matter how many people are at the table because you're all playing simultaneously. And if you play with a pen, once you put it down on your pad, you're done. That's it. You drew it, no takesy backsies, and you just have to keep moving forward. So this game is all about placing your polynomials that are rolled here on the dice in a way that will allow you to fill in all the empty spaces, cover up all the rocks, leave those trees visible, and of course in future, strategizing with the different types of buildings along with where you have everything placed, like having wells and things like that. So it is just a nice, delightful, easy game to play. I found myself enjoying this maybe a little bit more than My City the game because it took a lot less time. But I will say that the My City game, board game, has something over the dice game. And what it has is that every single time you roll the dice, you could get the same shape every time. You could be wanting a single and never get a single in an entire game, and that has happened. Or you might really want that U shape, the really big U shape that fits around. It's like a fiver, and you won't get one. And in the original game, you will get certain shapes, even though you take away a random shape and you don't know which one it is. You can bank on having a variety of shapes and knowing that you have space for a square, or you have space for a 3B triangle, or a long 4, or whatever you're looking for. And in this game, you just may never roll that shape in that entire session or episode. That can be a little tough. I mean, that can be rough. But the cool thing is that everybody's dealing with the exact same thing. So whatever you're struggling with, everybody else is struggling with too. And it's all about your design. And it's a fun, spatial game, super abstract. And I like the dice, and I like the feature of having 3 different kinds of buildings that then, yes, as you know now, will want to be placed adjacent to each other. There are new rules that are added, and all you need to do is just read the rule book and tell the story. It's very easy. Chapter 1 rules, 1, 2, 3. Chapter 2 rules, they add churches. Chapter 3, they add challenges. And Chapter 4, they add bandits. So super, super easy to read and follow. It is just an accessible game, and it plays 1 to 6, and it's done in half an hour. You literally pull out these 3 components. You pull out a sheet, the dice, and you grab a pen. You just tear a sheet off and you just play. It's so easy. I had a fantastic time playing My City Roll and Build. And honestly, if you heard everything here and it sounds like it's up your alley, I think you will too, particularly if you played My City, the board game. All right, that's it for me. I will see you next time, folks. Bye.